Hello everyone, you're listening to Alternative Revelations with Linda Emanuel. This is podcast number 30 and it is about taurine, probably one of the most important supplements you can take to help maintain good health. And before I get started, I have to say this disclaimer that these podcasts are for informational purposes only. I am not a doctor, nor am I a licensed practitioner. Therefore, I cannot give medical advice. If you are seeking medical advice, please consult your doctor or a licensed practitioner. And with that all said and done, I can begin the podcast. Taurine is an essential acid and is a key player in whether we stay well or get sick. Deficiencies in taurine can be devastating to the body. Now, many people refer to taurine as an amino acid, but it is not. It is an organic acid. The human body can synthesize or actually make taurine in the presence of vitamin B6 using the amino acids cysteine and methionine. And at the end of the podcast, I will list sources for cysteine and methionine. Some of the important roles taurine plays in the human body are as follows. Now, taurine is a major component in the production of bile. Taurine acts as an antioxidant. Taurine stabilizes membranes and is important in osmoregulation, which I will explain later. Taurine modulates cardiac signaling and cardiovascular function. Taurine is important in the development and function of skeletal muscle. Taurine is an important chemical compound found in the eyes, especially in the retina. Taurine is important to the central nervous system. So after reading all that from my book, Alternative Revelations, you can understand now how important taurine is to the body. It can make a difference whether you go blind or whether you can see well. It affects the heart signaling and cardiovascular function. It's an amazing supplement. And I have friends who are taking it and they have noticed that their blood pressure has gone down, that they can even see better. Now, I cannot state that taurine will get your eyesight back because I could get in trouble for saying that, but this is just based on people's feedback about taurine. Now, I'm going to start off the first subject with taurine and osmoregulation. And taurine regulates the sodium and potassium concentration in cells and regulates the magnesium levels between the cells as well. If there is a taurine deficiency, the sodium-potassium pumps will fail and the cells will swell up, meaning there is too much sodium in the cells. On the other hand, if taurine is present, the sodium-potassium pump will maintain the right concentrations of potassium and sodium ions. The sodium-potassium pumps are also the driving force behind the transportation of glucose, amino acids, and other nutrients in the cell. Now, taurine also acts as an antioxidant, protecting the cell membrane from oxidative attack. Taurine is also involved in the regulation of iron metabolism and modulates the levels of copper in the blood. Now I'm going to get into the eyes, and taurine is so important for our vision. Now, high concentrations of taurine are present in the eyes. Taurine has several eye functions and is responsible for normal retina structure. A taurine deficiency in the eyes leads to the degeneration of photoreceptor cells. Photoreceptor cells convert light into signals that stimulate biological processes in the brain. Now, there are two types of photoreceptor cells, which are rods and cones. Rods are extremely sensitive to light and respond to as few as 6 photons, which means very little light. Rods are the photoreceptors used at night. Cones, on the other hand, require significantly higher light. And there are 3 types of photoreceptor cones, which used in combination distinguish color. This explains why it is so difficult to distinguish color at night. The cones need light, or bright light, to fire. The human retina contains around 120 million rods and 6 million cones. The number and ratio in other species, meaning animal, birds, etc., varies. It's obvious owls have a tremendously higher ratio of rods to cones. Now the following is about animals and taurine. All animals need taurine, and cats cannot synthesize, which means manufacture, taurine. Therefore, a taurine deficiency in cats means it causes retina degeneration, which then leads into irreversible blindness. Taurine deficiency will also cause loss of hair and tooth decay. Taurine deficiency in cats is also connected to dilated cardiomyopathy, where the heart becomes weakened and enlarged and cannot pump blood efficiently. This can affect the lungs, liver, and other systems in the cat's body. So again, cats cannot synthesize taurine like we can. So cats have to have taurine supplemented in their diet. It's sort of the same as human beings cannot synthesize vitamin C, and we have to take it, where we cannot make vitamin C in our body. Like dogs and cats can synthesize vitamin C, therefore they don't need to drink orange juice or take supplements. But the human body cannot make vitamin C. We have to ingest it. And here's a little bit of information about taurine and cats' diets. It is now a requirement for manufacturers of animal feed to add taurine to wet and dry food. So make sure the label reads approved by the AAFCO. Now this is some more information about taurine and the eyes. Now human studies have shown that there is a correlation between a deficiency in taurine and cataracts. Now people with heart problems might particularly want to listen to this part. This is taurine and the heart. Taurine is to cats as taurine is to humans. Taurine deficiency can lead to heart problems in humans too. Taurine is the most abundant acid found in the heart. Since taurine participates in electrical stabilization of cell membranes and nerve muscle interaction, it is important for cardiovascular function, meaning heartbeat. Taurine helps control high blood pressure and is useful in congestive heart failure. There is a correlation between heart attacks and a taurine deficiency. Now, a deficiency can happen because you're not getting proper B6, cysteine, and methionine. So your diet does affect whether you make taurine. And I have noticed, or I have been told by a friend, that her blood pressure is lower after taking taurine. Now moving on, this is really interesting. taurine in newborns. According to my sources, taurine is the most abundant acid of all the acids in the fetal and newborn brain. Taurine is essential in the development of the fetus's central nervous system and the eyes. Since the fetus, now listen to this, since the fetus cannot synthesize taurine, which means it cannot manufacture taurine, it must get taurine through the placenta. It is critical that pregnant women get adequate amounts of taurine. Taurine also stimulates the hormone production, which promotes lactation, which means secretion of milk from the mammary glands. Some experts speculate that mothers unable to lactate could have a taurine deficiency, and premature infants are especially prone to taurine deficiency. So again, if the mother is not getting proper nutrition such as B6 and cysteine and methionine, she will have a deficiency. And I'm going to stop here and say, you might be getting the message now that taurine is critical for our health. So on with the podcast. Now this one's very interesting. This concerns taurine and diabetes. Taurine affects carbohydrate metabolism. It enhances glucose utilization, meaning insulin, and glycogen synthesis. Now, glycogen synthesis occurs under stress when the liver releases stored glucose, which means glycogen, for extra energy needed for fight or flight situations. Because of diabetes' devastating effects to the body, experts recommend diabetics add or take 500 milligrams of taurine to their diet 1 to 3 times per day. According to sources, taurine inhibits the release of adrenaline, thus protecting the body from adrenaline's adverse effects. And that means trauma, which means mycoplasma waking up. And if you remember, mycoplasma monitor 3 things in the body, one of which is the pH. And when you have trauma or stress, or even when you are extremely angry, your body becomes acidic. And this stimulates mycoplasma. I'll give you another example of how mycoplasma are stimulated. Mycoplasma also monitor the oxygen level in our body. They are anaerobic, meaning they flourish in the presence of low oxygen. Now think about this one. The higher up in elevation you go, the less oxygen there is. And people who experience altitude sickness, this is definitely mycoplasma awakening or being stimulated by less oxygen in the human body. Now, another way mycoplasma activate is mycoplasma monitor our immune system. And how many times have you heard of people getting one infection or getting sick, and then they get a whole bunch of different bacteria or viruses attacking them? Mycoplasma are bullies. They gang up on us. They join in when the immune system is down. So back to the podcast. Now, when I was researching taurine for my book, I read a lot of articles, and one of them was written by a Dr. Patricia Stagel, and she claims some things about taurine and digestion / cholesterol. And she states that taurine is necessary in the formation of bile in the large intestine. According to her article, taurine reduces cholesterol by forming bile acids, which are the end products of cholesterol breakdown and are the only route for eliminating cholesterol from the body. Now, that is her statement, not mine. I also asked friends if the ones who are supplementing with taurine, if they noticed their cholesterol levels lowering, and they said no. But there's other factors. I just read an article, and I can't remember the author, that stated that sometimes when we have high cholesterol, that the correlation between that is a mycoplasma infection. The body will build up cholesterol when we are under attack. I have no scientific evidence about that, but it kind of makes sense. Mycoplasma researchers theorize that when mycoplasma robs the endocrine system of cholesterol and the body is not making hormones, that the body will up its production of cholesterol to make it more available. This is a theory of mycoplasma researchers. But if I tell people this, I say, our whole body is made up of cholesterol. The cell wall is 85% fat. The brain is 75% fat. The membrane in our body, the sac that encloses the heart, the sac that encloses the female organs, they're all made of fat. The skin is fat. So I read an article about the statin drugs, how they are more dangerous to us. They're more harmful than help. And it was interesting that the article claimed that people who take the statin drugs, especially men, it negatively affects testosterone production. And this helps Pfizer because they manufacture Viagra. And Viagra, well, we all know what Viagra does. But it makes sense that taking statin drugs can negatively affect hormonal production because hormones are mostly fat, cholesterol. Now back to the podcast. Now the following is very, very interesting because it deals with the brain and mycoplasma. And mycoplasma is the smallest living organism, even tinier than a virus, and it can cross the blood-brain barrier, which is a protectorant to keep foreign substances or invading substances or harmful substances from the brain. And I believe that taurine is deficient in people who have a mycoplasma infection, especially where mycoplasma is attacking brain cells. Now again, mycoplasma needs fat. Its cell membrane, it is enclosed in a double cell membrane. It is only the nucleus of a bacterium, and it absolutely needs cholesterol to replicate, to make more of that mycoplasma, which leads to a more devastating infection. Now, the outer membrane of a mycoplasma cell membrane is called an endotoxin, and the endotoxin is to the immune system like a drop of blood is to the shark. It causes the immune system cells to go into a feeding frenzy. So the following is about taurine and the brain. Most interesting. I hope it is for you as it was for me to research this. Now, in the brain, taurine acts as a neuroinhibitor, which means it has a calming effect on the nerves. Taurine stabilizes nerve cell membrane, thus suppressing the firing of brain cells. The constant firing of brain cell nerves can be damaging, as is the case of antidepressants. Now, this is really, really sad. Antidepressants burn out, meaning overstimulate the frontal lobe nerves of the brain. Now, I read an article written by Jim Stone about antidepressants, how it burns out the victim's frontal lobe nerve cells within weeks, and they are left emotionless like zombies. So sad what the pharmaceutical industry has done to our population who have been put on psych drugs, especially antidepressants. And what's even more alarming is they prescribe them, or used to prescribe them to children. Now I can verify what people have written, that doctors always want to put you on psych drugs. And this is what happened to me when I was going to that quacky doctor who said I was crazy. She gave me a sample of some psych drug, antidepressant, and before I didn't know any better, and I took it one time, and I felt like I was in outer space. And I immediately stopped taking it, even though then I had no sense about the real world or what the pharmaceutical industry was up to. I believe that the elite want to turn us into zombies. It does sound bizarre, but if people are in a stupor, are dumbed down, they can be controlled. So back to the podcast about taurine in the brain. Now, I suspect myself that taurine is deficient in the brains of Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, schizophrenics, chronic fatigue, ADD, ADHD, and bipolar victims, because the brain cells are under constant mycoplasma attack. Now, this is getting back to glutamate. I don't know if you listened to my explanation of heart disease, that heart disease is caused, the main cause of heart disease is glutamate. And glutamate can be introduced into the body two different ways. And before I tell you, glutamate is an excitotoxin, which means it causes nerve cells to fire. And one of two ways glutamate can be introduced into the blood, especially into the brain, is through cell death. When mycoplasma kill a cell, or the cell ruptures and the contents of the cell spill out into the bloodstream, and one of the molecules that is being spilled out of the ruptured cell is glutamate, which is used for cell communication. Inside the cell, and the body cannot tolerate glutamate in the bloodstream, so it turns glutamate into glutamine, and a cyanide is released, which shut down other cells. And another way to introduce glutamate into the bloodstream is through MSG, monosodium glutamate, which causes the nerve cells to fire. So probably taking a taurine supplement would combat glutamate. It's just my theory. But glutamate excites and damages nerve cells. Now, what's interesting is when glutamate is introduced in the body, again, the body turns glutamate into glutamine, and a cyanide is released, and this shuts down neighboring cells. And my theory is this: I have no way to prove it because I am not a scientist, but this could explain why Alzheimer's patients become zombie-like. The cyanide is shutting down brain cells. And then the next day, they may be alert and almost normal. So this could be why Alzheimer's victims have that zombie-like look. Either dead brain cells or the cyanide shutting down brain cells from cell death. Now, the following is I thought was very interesting. It's about taurine and infection. And studies have shown that taurine boosts white blood cell count. Taurine stimulates the release of cytokines. And I just recommend that you listen to Vaccines podcast. I don't know what number it is. Now, Wikipedia describes this family of inflammatory molecules that play a central role in the regulation of immune response. Now, a few of these cytokines, it's cytokines, are synthesized by immune system cells, which reset the hypothalamus's thermostat to increase the body's temperature, meaning fever, to cook the pathogens. So my take on it is that taurine increases the production of cytokines, which cause inflammation. So the body can work against itself by producing cytokines, which are a protein molecule that stimulates immune response. And that's my take on it. So people who have a lot of inflammation, this to me signifies or signals that they have a mycoplasma infection, or maybe they have a viral infection, or maybe they even have a mold infection, or even an allergic reaction which produces an inflammatory response by the immune system. Or maybe they're even low on taurine, which causes the cells to swell up. So do your own research about this and come to your own conclusions. Like again, this podcast is for informational purposes only, to give you a start on your own research about educating yourself about how to stay well and protect yourself from cancer and disease. So on with the podcast. We're almost done. So in conclusion, taurine deficiencies, MSG, can decrease taurine levels, meaning either you're eating too much MSG in food, or you have mycoplasma causing cell death with the release of glutamate. Trauma, surgery, chemo, burns, disease and cancer, steroids, overgrowth of bacteria in the bowel can all lead to the loss of taurine through urination. A deficiency in B6, cysteine, and methionine can lead to a deficiency too. Now, taurine is closely bound to zinc and magnesium. So a deficiency in either of these two can interfere with the utilization of taurine. Now I'm going to give you some sources of taurine. Animal and fish protein, eggs, or organ meat contain taurine. It can also be manufactured in the body from cysteine and methionine in the presence of B6. Now, sources of cysteine, cysteine, is in meat, not fish. It's in eggs, ricotta, and cottage cheese, yogurt, red peppers, garlic, onions, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, oats, granola, and lentils. A source of methionine are animal and fish protein, eggs, nuts, cruciferous vegetables, seeds, beans, oats, and Parmesan cheese. Now, if you're going to get a supplement of taurine, please beware. China has over 40 manufacturers of taurine. Read the label. To supplement B6, look for or always buy pyridoxal 5-phosphate. So really watch China. I do not trust China at all. They are the ones, they have no ethics. All you have to do is look up the history of things made in China, how they put poisonous toxic paint on toys, how they tampered with baby formula. They are a very, in my opinion, they are a very evil country. So in conclusion, sounds like taurine is very beneficial to the body. It cannot hurt anyone, I don't think, to take a supplement of taurine, especially pregnant women. I would not be surprised if taurine is in prenatal vitamins because of its importance. Now, this is of utmost importance before I sign off. With the LED lighting and the blue light emitting from TV screens and movie screens, this is being said is causing blindness. And this is my take on it. Just like antidepressants cause the frontal lobes to burn out from overfiring of nerve cells, this could also be why people are getting blind from the LED lights. The cones in your eyes are overfiring from the light. Remember, light makes the photoreceptors fire, and they could burn out too, just like in the frontal lobes from antidepressants. So a supplement of taurine might help with this problem. Also, you can buy special glasses that reduce the glare from the light from your computer screen and your TV screen. I don't think there's too much worse than being blind in a world that we live in today. It really inhibits what you can do. So back to the conclusion of this podcast. If you have a cat, it's so essential for cats to get taurine because they cannot make it in their body, just like humans cannot synthesize vitamin C. And supplements are very important to us, but you can over-supplement yourself. So beware about that. And take care of yourself. Take care of your health. Because when you don't, you're setting yourself up for a mycoplasma infection. Be cautious about drinking soda. So dangerous drinking diet soda. And soda is so acidic. On a scale of 0 to 14, and 7 is neutral, and 1 is acidic, and 14 is super alkaline. Soda is 1 on the pH scale. And when you drink soda, your body goes into shock. When that acid hits the bloodstream, it has to neutralize that acidity. And alkaline minerals bind with acid minerals and neutralize them. So the body must neutralize the blood, get it back to alkalinity, and it will pull calcium out of your bones to neutralize that acid. So it is very dangerous to drink soda, especially with children. You know, the soda aisle in the grocery store is one of the biggest. And I see people buying soda by the case, and I don't say anything because that's their business, that's their choice. And I believe they're just uneducated. We are not taught this in school. We are not given good information. We are just dumbed down. And I hope people, especially if you're listening to this podcast, you're awake and you want to do something about it. You want to protect yourself from cancer and disease. You're tired of this system keeping us dumbed down and sick. So take charge of your own health, your own medical freedom. We still have that to a point. We can still make choices. We can make wise choices. We just have to have the proper information and to be able to decipher junk from the truth. So my next podcast is going to be vitamin C cancer therapy. It's most interesting why this works, and it's all about mycoplasma, the most common cause of cancer and disease. And then I think the one after that People have been asking me to do, or they've been interested in what baking soda's role is in cancer. And so again, it's all about educating yourself, protecting yourself from cancer and disease, and being able to make wise choices. And I hope these podcasts have helped. That's my whole goal in life, is to serve God. And when you serve God, you serve people. So until next time, good night and God bless.